Also coming up on the program, Java's latest bullet, the 42FJ packs in a punch. What is the new 42 on the block all about? It's an overdrive review.
We're starting off the show though with a dose of inspiration and a very, very important conversation. This Sunday, the 2024 Paralympics in Paris came to an end, and they were nothing short of historic for our country. Our para-athletes not only broke records, they also redefined what's possible, bringing home a staggering, record-breaking 29 medals, including 7 golds. And there are the inspiring personal journeys of each of the athletes that we've seen. We're showing you some of them on our screen. The Indian contingent has left us with countless moments, memories of pride.
There is, of course, the grit and determination of our Paralympians and the continuous support of their families. What did India do differently this time around to support their athletes this time? And what do we need to continue doing? That's what we'll explore on the show today. And to do that, we've got a very special guest joining us. But before that, let's take a look at why this year was a year of first. Let's take a closer look at the unforgettable chapter in India's sporting para history.
An exhilarating chapter of sports history. Salute her for inspiring all of us. Then there's sprint sensation Preeti Pal. Preeti broke new ground as India's first track medalist at the Paralympics, securing bronze in both the 100-meter and 200-meter T35 events. She is the first and the only track athlete to medal at the Paralympics for our country and sprint double. And she's now sprinted straight into our hearts with this last performance. Next, you probably already recognize that look of steely determination. It's Sheetal Devi using her feet to shoot arrows in a moment that has now gone viral. Sheetal won a bronze, this is in the mixed team compound archery, and at 17 years, 7 months, 23 days, she became the youngest Indian Paralympic medalist in history. Let's go very quickly after that to some men that we have watched with awe. There is Kapil Parmar, who brought a new dimension to the Paralympics by winning bronze in blind judo. He's also become the first ever Indian to win a Paralympic medal in the sport. Right after that, there is the incredible Sumit Antil, who made history as the first Indian man to defend a title. This is by winning the F64 category gold with a Paralympics record throw of 70.59 meters. And we cannot forget Nishad Kumar. He's a young man who once dreamt of joining the Indian Army, and he's instead made the entire nation proud by winning silver in the men's high jump T47 final. This is with a jump of 2.04 meters. Though the Paralympics lasted 12 days, experts say that for our nation, the magic really happened between days 5 and 7, where the Indian team won an astonishing 17 medals in just 3 days. These are, of course, just some of the sports people who left a mark on our hearts, just a few. Looking ahead, the horizon is bright for Team India. India's next goal is to break into the top 10. This is at LA 2028. As we told you already, a record 84 athletes were in Paris this time, and new sports like para-cycling, para-rowing have already joined the lineup. Until next time, keep cheering, keep celebrating, and most importantly, let's keep supporting our Paralympic champions.
All right, so that's been quite a historic ride for our country. We all have reasons to smile on that one, and our next guest is just going to take you through all the details of how did this magic happen?
Right, that's the huge question, and with us right now is the former president of the Paralympics Committee of India, Dr. Deepa Malik. She headed the organization from 2020 till just a few months ago in March. She's also India's first ever, and this is such an important part of this journey, she's India's first ever female Paralympic medalist herself. We'll ask her about everything. Doctor, thank you for joining us here on the show this morning. If we could just come to you and ask you first, Doctor, this performance happened, there's Tokyo and this, both were record-breaking, and it's happened largely under your tutelage. So if you could just walk our audiences through what you think you brought in as the leader with all the team that was working underneath you. What was the change you brought about to para-athletes' lives?
Firstly, I have to say that I was very fortunate to have very good mentors and team and the supporting policies that happened. So what really changed? I think let's start with the first and foremost, the inclusive policies. When you have Prime Minister himself accounting and taking account of their progress, the charter, the graph, and every policy is at par for Olympians and Paralympians from the central government and state governments also joining hands slowly and steadily. So that was a huge support when your elite pool is in Target Olympic Podium Scheme. What we did as a federation, we also became a little matured. Instead of just being a NGO which supports participation at international levels, we also started framing our administration into a proper sports federation which looked into raising funds, training programs, train the trainer programs. We also utilized our time of COVID, which came as a silver lining in the cloud. We educated our athletes for information technology. We had webinars which simplified the classifications and rules in Hindi language. Because most of the material is available in English and on the websites, and athletes really didn't know how to access it. So that is something we educated them. We also had mental training and science introduced. With Target Olympic Podium Scheme, every athlete gets the comfort of customizing their training to have a physiotherapist, a mental trainer, a nutritionist. We also had stakeholders like OGQ and Go Sports who brought in sports sciences along with supporting the athletes' journeys. The best part was a easy communication between the athletes and the administration. When you have an athlete-centric leadership, somebody who's already in a disability has played along and understood the challenges, it becomes very easy for the athletes to reach out and have expressing their own thing. We identified our junior pool of talent. After a long period of time, junior, sub-junior, youth Asian Games, etc. were also encouraged. So along with sustaining and retaining our already existing talent from previous years, we were very happy, and I think that's the sense of achievement I have in the leadership role, that the 300% increase of women participation, not just participation but also medals, because it is, if you want to increase the number of medals, you have to increase the number of participation in the different sporting events. So,
Correct.
and especially for Paris, it was a gender neutral event. So, we had 50% of the medals going to the women, and if you don't have women participation, then you're missing out on those medals. So, it was very important to have women also come out there, participate. And if I take you back to Asian Para Games 2022, which happened in Hangzhou, China, we had 17 sporting events that we participated, and 16 events had women participation, because the 17th was only for men.
Wow.
It was blind
Wow.
football. So, and even in these events, every event, whether it was canoeing, rowing, paracycling, judo, athletics, shooting, apart from swimming, every event had a woman participating. So that increases our chances of number of medals which are coming, which we were missing out till Rio. I mean, I was the first, and after that. And we also had what was very important change that happened was we created awareness. We used social media to our advantage. Social media was never a part of the system. We digitalized the data. We educated the athletes to go online, because when they started going online, they could also follow their competitors. They could go there and see where they stand in the international ranking, what is their targets, and more coaches, physiotherapists, nutritionists, sports science people joined the ecosystem. We invited them, we did collaborations. Also, time-bound proposals were sent. If a prosthetic is required, then it has to be of the world standard, and it has to be given on time, because if you are giving a prosthetic just ahead of the competition and the athlete is not used to it, that also makes a difference. Body management was something we had to teach the athletes, especially wheelchair user athletes, because there are so many complications that come with it. How to manage your bladder, how to keep skin infections away, not to end up with a pressure sore, because we don't have sensation, we don't have bladder and bowel. I am personally under that kind of a disability. So even that education, which they were shy to talk about. Now women in serious disabilities come and ask me, madam, if it's a 15-hour flight, how do you pass urine in the flight? They didn't even know that there are diapers that can be used, or there are different sizes of diapers that can be used for a longer journey. This can be worn, or we can have catheterization and urine bags attached, and then battle the infections that come with it, because if you don't know how to battle that, and if you are eating medicines, then you're supposed to have therapeutic use exception certificate, which again was a very important document for the athletes, to be able to identify the right classification, because you can be playing in a wrong classification and end up losing a medal when you are in the competition. So a lot of preparations have gone into it, and a lot of
Dr.
education.
Deepa, yeah. Dr. Deepa, that's a long list of things that you have done, and kudos to you and your team. But the heart of it is not just infrastructural changes, not just money actually coming in, but seeing representation. You know, we had a show not very long ago, this week in fact, on disability, and one of the activists that came on board said that representation is what people are looking for. If you are there, you can solve a problem for yourself, you sort of inspire others as well. But I want to talk about a slightly different aspect of the Paralympics, which is about identifying talent. I'm very curious to understand, how does it work? Because a lot of people do not have the knowledge. So do you as a committee go out on the hunt of these people, or they are approaching you? Where are we at in terms of identifying talent?
So we do have a regular system of having state competitions. From there the team are fielded into national competitions. And when you have state competition, we have, like I said, introduced junior, sub-junior. So even very junior level athletes have started coming in. Districts are supposed to have their committees, and districts then field the athletes into the state level competition, and from there the state level competitions, the athlete identified there come for the nationals. Now what difference have we made? We have started sending observers, experts, classifiers even in the state body when state has the competition, because there are only handful of people who are educated in the classification. So if randomly the athletes are sent in a wrong classification, they don't end up exhibiting the right talent. So a lot to get the athletes in with the right paperwork, because till now we had so many visually impaired athletes, but they did not have the right eye test certification, which is defined by the International Paralympic Committee rules. So we made children aware, we made the state bodies aware that you have to finish your homework before you send them for the nationals. Similarly, we so proud that Deepthi has won a medal, and she comes from the intellectual disability category. There also there is a proper series of psychological tests, psychiatric tests. You are supposed to get a particular card of the degree of intellectual disability percentage, and then you qualify to be a para athlete. So these medical identification is the first step, and if they are rightly done and rightly encouraged, and also the choice of the sporting event. For example, I have a body which is chest below paralyzed. For 4 years I was swimming, and I was in a wrong event. It was a wrong sport for me, because I have 200 stitches between shoulder blades. My shoulders are not strong. 7 vertebrals are chopped. I have spasticity in the body due to spinal cord injury. So while I am trying to swim in the water, the body would become tight and restrict my movement. My lungs would also get a spasm. I wouldn't be able to breathe. So not be able to get the stroke right or get speed into it. Then my whole body, I am a disadvantaged against an amputee who has no problem with their oblique or torso muscles or shoulder muscles. For me, my entire body is affected. So then no point competing against people whose bodies are advantaged in the water, because you are only categorized of no use of legs. But what about it? So this is how we started identifying and getting the people in the right category, and that's how we were able to field more and more athletes in different sporting events.
Dr. Deepa, if we could ask you, you have now, as of March, you are not the president anymore. You've stepped into another very important position. And I want to ask you, we're telling our audiences one of India's goals is LA. We are in the top 10. What does that actually look like going forward?
Of what we followed during my tenure and the team that we had, we focused a lot on retaining our talent, which we knew is going to sustain. So you see a lot of repeat medals. You see a Sharad Kumar, you see a Mariappan winning medals. You have Avani Lekhra, who's defended her gold. But you also see the people who were 4th in the ranking. For example, Dharamveer, he went on to win a gold. Pranav was just missed his qualification for Tokyo, has now gone on to become a silver medal. Navdeep always was stuck on a 4th position, has gone on to win a gold this time. So not just retaining your talent, improving. Harvinder had a bronze last time. This time he's come back with a gold. So we are continuously increasing the level of performance, and if Yogesh and Nishad could not win a gold, they were very upset about it. I mean, it took them a day to smile after winning a silver. So these are the aspiration of the athletes. This is the mental robustness that they have nowadays. And similarly, this time we had approximately 40 new first-time Paralympians. So that goes to see that along with retaining our past talent, we have also nurtured the new talent. Because 50% of the team are fresh Paralympians. That itself goes to see how much homework has gone in. 32 women participation. It was just 2 on the quota allocation and 1 on bipartite. Women participation in Rio went on to become 14 girls and 3 medals. Now it has become 11 medals and 32 girls. And different disabilities, whether it is visual impairment, it is cerebral palsy, it is short stature, you have intellectual disability. I mean, amputees, you have talent from every part. Archery, table tennis, you have athletics, parachuting. So many sports also where women are diversifying, and it was just a bad day for Prachi. We were very hopeful that Prachi, but this is considerably a new sport. and we are still getting used to the new sport.
Doctor, though, I must say, one of the loveliest things about talking to you is just how clear it is that you were very close to each of the players. You know, the way you're actually mentioning each of their names, saying, okay, for this one it was a great day, for this other person it was a disappointment. Yes. It's so lovely to speak to you, get to know how close you were to the players. Doctor, we have unfortunately run out of time though. Yes. In the last few minutes, it's been lovely getting to know you.
Thank you.
Lovely speaking
and thank
about...
you for celebrating parasports. This year we were lucky to have a broadcast. I hope with this win, more and more channels like yourself are going to come forward and show more of these events, even on the national and state level. Awareness will count.
It's an honor to have you though.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
All right, after that very inspiring conversation and getting to understand so many fresh things, it's time to slip into a quick break. When we come back, we will talk about AI. And this time, it's all about the legislation around AI. What exactly is that turning out to be at a global level? We'll decode that in a moment from now.
It is much higher because of them. They allowed criminals, many millions of criminals. They allowed terrorists. They allowed common street criminals. They allowed people to come in, drug dealers, to come into our country. And they're now in the United States and told by their countries like Venezuela, don't ever come back or we're going to kill you. Do you know that crime in Venezuela and crime in countries all over the world is way down? You know why? Because they've taken their criminals off the street and they've given them to her to put into our country. And this will be one of the greatest mistakes in history for them to allow, and I think they probably did it because they think they're going to get votes, but it's not worth it because they're destroying the fabric of our country by what they've done. There's never been anything done like this at all. They've destroyed the fabric of our country. Millions of people let in, and all over the world, crime is down all over the world except here. Crime here is up and through the roof. Despite their fraudulent statements that they made, crime in this country is through the roof. And we have a new form of crime. It's called migrant crime. And it's happening at levels that nobody thought possible.
President Trump, as you know, the FBI says overall violent crime is actually coming down in this country. But
excuse me, the FBI they were defrauding statements. They didn't include the worst cities. They didn't include the cities with the worst crime. It was a fraud. Just like their number of 818,000 jobs that they said they created turned out to be a fraud.
President Trump, thank you. I'll let you respond, Vice President Harris.
Well, I think this is so rich coming from someone who has been prosecuted for national security crimes, economic crimes, election interference, has been found liable for sexual assault, and his next big court appearance is in November at his own criminal sentencing. And let's be clear where each person stands on the issue of what is important about respect for the rule of law and respect for law enforcement. The former vice president called for defunding federal law enforcement, 45,000 agents, get this, on the day after he was arraigned on 34 felony counts. So let's talk about what is important in this race. It is important that we move forward, that we turn the page on this same old tired rhetoric and address the needs of the American people, address what we need to do about the housing shortage, which I have a plan for, address what we must do to support our small businesses, address bringing down the price of groceries. But frankly, the American people are exhausted with this same old tired playbook.
Vice President Harris, thank you.
Excuse me. Every one of those cases was started by them against their political opponent. And I'm winning most of them, and I will win the rest on appeal. And you saw that with the decision that came down just recently from the Supreme Court. I'm winning most of them. But those are cases, it's called weaponization. Never happened in this country. They weaponized the Justice Department. Every one of those cases was involved with the DOJ, from Atlanta and Fani Willis to the Attorney General of New York and the DA in New York. Every one of those cases. And then they say, oh, he's a criminal. They're the ones that made them go after me. By the way, Joe Biden was found essentially guilty on the documents case. And what happened in my documents case? They said, oh, that's the toughest of them all. A complete and total victory. 2 months ago, it was thrown out. It's weaponization, and they used it, and it's never happened in they used it to try and win an election.
President
They're
Trump.
fake cases. First, let me respond as to the
Please.
rallies. She said people start leaving. People don't go to her rallies. There's no reason to go. And the people that do go, she's bussing them in and paying them to be there, and then showing them in a different light. So she can't talk about that. People don't leave my rallies. We have the biggest rallies, the most incredible rallies in the history of politics. That's because people want to take their country back. Our country is being lost. We're a failing nation. And it happened 3.5 years ago. And what's going on here, you're going to end up in World War III, just to go into another subject. What they have done to our country by allowing these millions and millions of people to come into our country, and look at what's happening to the towns all over the United States. And a lot of towns don't want to talk. It's not going to be Aurora or Springfield. A lot of towns don't want to talk about it because they're so embarrassed by it. In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there. And this is what's happening in our country, and it's a shame. As far as rallies are concerned, as far as the reason they go is they like what I say. They want to bring our country back. They want to make...
Welcome back. It's time on the program to take you through one of our favorite segments on the show, which is Keeping Up with AI.
Okay, first let's bring you the lowdown. In a landmark move, the United States, the EU and the UK, they've all signed the world's first legally binding treaty on the use of artificial intelligence. The agreement is being hailed as a major step forward in global AI governance, but what does it actually hope to do? It seeks to balance all of the advancements we're seeing in AI tech with the importance of safeguarding human rights. This landmark agreement is among leading AI stakeholders, as you already know, and it addresses concerns that fragmented national regulations could actually stifle innovation within the field. As AI continues to permeate into every aspect of our lives, this historic pact aims to ensure that its development and its deployment are conducted responsibly with clear accountability across public and private sectors. The treaty was drafted over the past 24 months by more than 50 countries, and it essentially adopts a risk-based approach. What that means, we'll take a deeper dive into right here on the show.
But what is the biggest significance in a way of the treaty that is relevant to you and I? Well, let's look into that. Well, the treaty arrives at a moment when AI is becoming increasingly embedded in various sectors. It's also raising concerns about privacy, about discrimination, about the potential misuse of AI systems, which we all know there is no control that even governments have at the moment. The treaty requires signatories to be accountable for harmful and discriminatory outcomes of AI systems, respect equality and privacy rights, and provide legal recourse for victims of AI-related right violations as well, deepfake being one such of them. Now, what does the treaty really says? The AI Convention is a result of years of negotiation, like we pointed out, and the key here is that developers like UK, US, EU, along with other participants such as Japan, Canada, Israel, Australia, and several others, are going to look into it as a global norm. India, as we'll talk about on the program as well, has often said that they're not looking at a separate law or a separate, system on AI. They will follow what the global jurisdiction or what the global law really is. And the treaty then goes on to focus upon the potential risks that the technology might be putting out. So that's a lot of details, but let's get down to fundamentals over here. We've got Hitesh Jain, who's the managing partner at Putnam Law Associate here with us this morning. Good morning, Hitesh. So a lot to unpack from what this global convention really is all about. Like we said, AI does not see borders, it does not see language barriers. There is nothing. There is one AI for the world, and the misuse and use of it is there for everyone, and thus the convention. The question then, however, is what exactly will be the alignment that India will have with these treaty partners?
Actually, the world over, when you look at the regulation, we are all divided on one point, and we are seeking an answer whether innovation needs direction or it needs a speed. Imagine a powerful engine which is running, and they say AI is a powerful engine which is running without brakes. So whether it needs a direction or a speed, and from that perspective, one should look at the regulations. As far as the regulations are concerned, again, whether it should be risk-based or harm-based, whether it should be regulated at a platform model, at the platform level or the application level. So there are various factors that needs to be considered. As far as, since you mentioned about the treaty and the European Union taking the first lead in coming with the first set of laws for the AI, now EU has followed basically risk-based approach. While if you will look at United States, which is also a party to the treaty, they have followed a more decentralized and a sectoral-based approach. So it's a very we are in a very interesting field. But I guess there is one commonality amongst all the member countries of treaties, or even if it is India also, that it should not cause any harm to the human beings. So the harm-based approach and the risk-based approach, the combination is something we are looking as an approach towards the regulation for the AI.
But just tell us, what do you actually think, Hitesh, of the laws themselves? The reason I'm asking you that is because they've tried, for example, to steer off certain domains. National security, any AI related to that, for example, they're not trying to touch. What do you think of the way in which the laws have been constructed? This has been years in the work.
So, let me give an example of EU. If you want to have a look at the laws, so they have divided the risk in 4 categories. One is unacceptable risk. AI is going to violate fundamental rights. They have to be regulated, and it is unacceptable. For example, they also come with a high risk, which deals with healthcare, employment, and the law enforcement basis is concerned. They say AI can be deployed, but it has to be regulated strictly. Now, there are areas of innovation which will promote innovation which can be used for a day-to-day use. For example, where the risks are minimal or limited, that can be regulated. Another area where there is a huge debate that is going on and where you are seeing a regulation is from the transparency and the data privacy point of view. For example, labeling of deep fakes. So as far as the use of deep fakes are concerned, for the artificial manipulative voice or artificial images are concerned, as far as those are concerned, what currently the law is providing is the combination of labeling for deepfakes and penalties that are being used to deter the person from using such tactics.
Right. So, Hitesh, but when it comes to AI, the major question that everybody wants to understand here is where does this apply? Is it going to be the platform? Is it going to be the person who's engaged in malpractices? Where do you go? Because we are trying to sort of, get into a situation where we don't know where it applies to even cybersecurity for matters. So AI is a different demon altogether.
I think this is a great question, and I'm glad you asked such question, whether it should be regulated at the platform level or the sectoral or the human level. I think the current approach is to look at the sectoral and the human level, and not at the platform level, because if you will look at the platform level, it will stifle the innovation. World over, including India, everyone believes that AI should be, AI initiative should be supported, innovation should be supported, and there should be a balance between the innovation and addressing the societal risk is concerned. So the approach is more on the app-based or the human-based and the user-based approach. And there also, I guess there are 3 parameters. One is looking at for the safety. One is looking at the privacy. Also, India has enacted the DPDP Act, and most of the countries are also having the data privacy laws. So that is also going to be interesting, because how it is going to play out and what will be the approach of the data privacy laws, because as far as the AI is concerned, since it consumes a lot of data, it uses a lot of data, so it is going to run into the trouble with the privacy sector also. And therefore, there is an importance for the app-based or the human-centric approach and not a platform-level approach.
Hitesh, thank you for joining us. Thank you for shedding perspective on a slice of news that caught our attention, but we were, of course, confused and interested to understand how laws could actually come into play here and help the way in which the world processes and understands AI. All right, we're going to move on from this now. We're going to take you to something very special. We do want to tell you, you can always visit news18.com for all the latest and breaking news with up-to-date coverage on India, the world, business, entertainment and cricket. News18.com is India's leading news website, and it combines accurate reporting with in-depth analysis, ensuring that readers stay informed on all critical developments.
All right, with that, we are drawing today's episode to a close. We'll see you again tomorrow morning, 8 o'clock. Have a good day until then.
Goodbye.
It's a very simple phrase, make America great again. She's destroying this country, and if she becomes president, this country doesn't have a chance of success. Not only success, we'll end up being Venezuela on steroids.
I just want to clarify here. You bring up Springfield, Ohio, and ABC News did reach out to the city manager there. He told us there have been no credible reports of specific claims of pets being harmed, injured, or abused by individuals within the immigrant community.
Well, I've seen people on television.
Let me just say here, this is
the people on television say my dog was taken and used for food. So maybe he said that, and maybe that's a good thing to say for a city manager.
I'm not taking this from
but
television.
But the people
I'm
on
taking it from
television
the city
saying their
manager.
dog was eaten by the people that went there.
Again, the Springfield city manager says there's no evidence of that. Vice
We'll
President
find
Harris,
out.
I'll let you respond to the rest of what you've heard.
You talk about extreme. This is, I think, one of the reasons why in this election I actually have the endorsement of 200 Republicans who have formally worked with President Bush, Mitt Romney, and John McCain, including the endorsement of former Vice President Dick Cheney and Congress member Liz Cheney. And if you want to really know the inside track on who the former president is, if he didn't make it clear already, just ask people who have worked with him. His former chief of staff, a four-star general, has said he has contempt for the Constitution of the United States. His former national security advisor has said he is dangerous and unfit. His former Secretary of Defense has said the nation, the republic, would never survive another Trump term. And when we listen to this kind of rhetoric, when the issues that affect the American people are not being addressed, I think the choice is clear in this election.
President Trump, I'll give you a quick minute to respond here.
Thank you, because when I hear that,